So now we're going to jump into our all events folder right here, and then into our page.js, and we can begin to work on our page right here. Now, the first thing that we need to do is mark this as use client, because we're going to be using some hooks inside here, such as the use mutation that we created. And let's go ahead and do this. First of all, we need to go ahead and get all the events that we have in our database. So I'm going to say const events is equal to use query from Convex React, and we're going to say api.events, which is our database dot get. Now API, we need to also import it from Convex generated API so that we get the correct database dot get. Now the reason why we are using use query here is because if you check your Convex folder and into the events.js, whenever we want to get items from the database, we use the query, and whenever we want to get something into the database, then we use the mutation. So that's why you're using use query here. You're also going to see that in this file is where we're going to also be implementing the delete function, and in that case we're going to use the use mutation hook. Now we have the events here, so let's go ahead and first of all check for whether events exist. So if there are no events, then what we simply want to do is return, and we're going to return a div here that has a class name of mx auto, and then margin top of 10, and then max width -4xl, and then inside this div we're going to render out a loader. So loader2 is the name of the icon, so loader2, and it's going to have a class name here of mx auto block size -9, animate spin, so it's going to be spinning, and then text neutral -400, like so. So if there are no events, then we're going to show a loading spinner, and then if there are events, then we're going to map over them inside here. So this first div is going to have a class name here of container mx auto, and then padding on the x of 2, and then padding on the y of 10. And then inside this div we're going to have another div that has a class of mx auto and grid, and it's going to say max width -xl, and then a gap of 4. And then inside this div we're going to map over our events. So I'm going to say events (dot), which is the optional chaining. So events dot map, and then we're going to say that for every event that we get back, then we want to render out a card component from ShadCN. So import it from components UI card, like so. It's going to have a key of event._id. Now event._id is the unique ID that we get from our Convex database. So the card is going to be like so. It's going to have a class name here of group, and you're going to see how group is going to be coming into practice. And then it's going to have a class name of relative, because we are going to be positioning the delete button absolute depending on the card. And then max width, max -width -xl, like so, and then close out the card. And then the card is going to have another component called card header, import it, and card header is going to have a div, and this div is going to have a class name of flex -column, and then flex wrap, and then items start, and then justify between, and then space -y-1. And then inside this div we're going to have a card description. So card description coming from components UI card, and the card description here, the first one is going to say created on, and this is coming from our database. We're going to call the format function from datefns, and then pass in the event._creation time. Now this is coming from Convex once again, and then we want to go ahead and pass in the terms of DO, month, and then year. So the date, month, and the year. And then let's see, below the card description we're going to have a card title, and the card title here is going to have a class name of break words, so that if you have an extremely long event name, then it's going to automatically break them so that it doesn't cause an overflow. And then it's going to have a class of leading 7 to increase the line height, and then this is going to say event.name. Now I think up to there we should be able to see the event name on the screen. So let's save that, and then let's wait for this to reload, because we already added an event when we created the event, right? When we were demoing the event part. So card title is not defined. I forgot to import it. So control spacebar, enter, and then reload. So loading, that is our loading spinner, and there we go. So we have created on 9th of December 2024, and then the name is test event. And you can go ahead if you want to add multiple. So let's say another event name here. Let's pick a date, let's say 26th of December. Let's go into random text generator so that we can have a huge amount of text to work with. So get that, let's just get these two paragraphs and then paste them in. Event location Kenya, organizer Google. Create new event, we get our toast notification, and then another event name. So now what we need to work on is we want this to be displaying differently, and then we also want to display the event description. So first of all, let's go ahead and give this the cards a better background color. I don't like this white so much. So let's go ahead into the components right here, and then UI, and then button. Let's modify it. So BG here is going to be BG neutral dash 900. Now 900 is transparent because this is also 900. Let's see. Why isn't this reloading? It should now show the, what's wrong? Oh, wait a minute. I'm in the wrong file. It should be in the card.jsx, so that we can change this from BG card into BG neutral dash 800. I think 800 is the one I used. That should be it. And then we need to change the border here, so it's going to have a border neutral dash 700. And there we go. Yeah, there we go. Fantastic. And then of course we need to change the text here, so it's going to be text neutral dash 100, so that the text is going to be lighter so that you can actually read it. There we go. Fantastic. Now let's go ahead and display the other content that we have. So inside the card title, or rather below the card title, we're going to have 3 card descriptions. So card description, like so, copied down 3 more times. This first one is going to say organized by, and then we're going to give it the event dot organizer. So this is event organizer, and then the next one is going to be location, which is going to say event dot location, and then the next one is going to be event date, which is going to say event dot date, and save that. And actually what I should have demonstrated is when we created a new event, and if you took a look at your Convex at your backend, you would see that you now have a table that is called events, which has all the events that we have just created right now, right? And it is, the last one was at 10:27. So let's see, what's I doing? We were here, so we were styling this out, and I think, let me see, if we go into the card.jsx and we give the BG an opacity of 50, I think it will be the same as the header right here. Yeah, I think that looks better. I think that looks actually better, so that it keeps in line with the overall UI that we have. Now, outside of the card header, which we have right here, we're going to have card content. So card content, like so, auto import it, and the card content is going to have a class name of space-y-4 to separate out all the elements inside. And then we're going to have a div first of all, and this div is going to have an h4 with a class name here that says text small and font dash bold, and the text is going to say about the event. And then below this we're going to have a card description, and the card description here is going to say event description, and it's going to have class names here. So class name of text small, leading 6, text neutral, -600. And then let's see, below this div, we are now going to have our delete button, which is going to be a dialog component. But first of all, let's just save that to see that we have the event description in 3, 2, 1. There we go. We have that. And okay, there we go. It was reloading. I was wondering why it's white. Okay. I see something. Let's go back into cat.jsx. Let's set this back to 100. Let's not have the opacity because I think it also makes the text to be a bit, really? Or maybe it doesn't affect it. Perhaps it doesn't affect it. Anyway, you can change that up to look however you want it to look. But you can see that this is now the event description and so on and so forth. And now we are going to add our delete button. Now the delete button is going to be a dialog component so that when you click on it, it opens up the model. So the way we do that is right below this div, we're going to have a dialog just like we did, and make sure that you don't use the Radix UI, you use the components UI, because the dialog component is based off of the package from Radix UI. So the dialog is going to have a dialog trigger. So dialog trigger, not title, trigger, like so. And we're going to give it an as child prop, so that we're going to give it a button inside here. And the button text is going to have the trash2 icon. So trash2, like so. Or let me use trash. I think trash icon, yeah, is the one that is the outline. So delete the second one from trash2. And then this button is going to say, it's going to have a variant here of destructive, so that it is the red background. We're going to have a size of small, and it's going to have a class name here of absolute. So remember that the button is absolute, but the card is relative. So the button is going to be positioned relative to the card. So absolute, and then we're going to give it a minus right of 12 and minus top of 4, and then margin left of auto to bring it to the right, and then block, and then opacity -0, opacity -0, and then group hover is going to say opacity -100. Now group hover means when you hover over the parent element of that particular one, and remember that the parent element is the card which we gave the class name of group. So when you hover over the card, we should see it. Once I save it, we should be able to see it somewhere here. So hover, 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 come on, reload, 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 reload. In 3, 2, 1, reload. It should probably be faster for you anyway. So button is not defined, of course. So control spacebar, auto import it, enter, save it. There you go. And look at that. So we have our trash icon right there. So when I hover over the card, then the trash icon appears. And this second one also has its own trash icon. Okay, so that's looking okay. Now what we need to do is we need to add the dialog content. So what happens when I click on this? It should open up a model. So below the dialog trigger, I'm going to add the dialog content from components UI dialog, and just make sure that you auto import it. And the dialog content is going to have class names here of border, and then border dash neutral dash 800 pg neutral dash 900, just like the other one. And then inside here we're going to have dialog header. So dialog header, and just make sure that auto import it. Dialog header is going to have dialog title, and dialog title is going to be, are you absolutely sure? Question mark, question mark. So are you absolutely sure? And then below this we're going to have dialog description. So dialog description, and then this is going to say you are about to delete an event entry. This action cannot be undone and will permanently delete this entry from the servers or from the database. You can do that. and then that is the event description, or that the dialog description, and then the dialog header closes here, and then let's see, the dialog header closes. So let's have a div here. So this div is going to have a class name here of flex items dash center justify dash end, just like for the buttons, and then it's going to have a gap on the x-axis of 4, and then inside here we're going to have a dialog close. So dialog close, which is going to be as child, so it's going to have an as child prop, and then inside here we're going to have a button, the button component with a variant of, say, secondary. Yes, because this is the cancel button, so the button says cancel. And then outside of this dialog close, we're going to have another button with the variant of destructive, and then the size for this is going to be small. I forgot to give this a size, so I mean, it doesn't really need to have a size of small, I think, because we haven't been using the size of small for any other button, so let's not use it now. And then the class name here is going to be flex item center justify center gap on the x-axis of 2, and then transition. And the reason why I'm giving class names to this button is because this button has an icon that is called trash, so the trash icon, and then the text here says delete. And then what we want here when we click on this button is we want to call a function here which we already implemented but we have not yet imported. So let's just have it as an empty thing right there, so that now when I save this, we should be able to see our dialog show up. So once it reloads, reload, dialog title is not defined. Of course it's not defined. So control spacebar and then enter, save that, and let's try it out. So when I click on the delete button, it should now, yeah, there we go. So the delete function is not yet working, so if I click on it, nothing happens, but the cancel one is going to remove the model as well as this X icon on the top right. Okay, so let's go ahead and handle the delete function next. So the delete function, what we're going to do is, when you click on this, we're going to be calling a function called handle delete event, which is going to take in the event._id, and remember the underscore id is unique across your entire database. So let me move the on-click on top like so, just on top of the class names, and then let's go ahead and create this function. So right on top, right below the events, what we need to first of all do is we need to get our mutation. So I'm going to call it mutation is equal to use mutation hook from Convex React, and then we're using the API.events.delete event because that is the function that we created, and then we're going to say const handle delete event is going to be an arrow function which is going to have a parameter here that is the ID. So let me call it underscore ID, and then I'm going to say the mutation is going to be taking the ID which is coming from underscore ID, which is our parameter. So when that happens, we want to show a toast notification. So import toast from Sona like so. So the toast notification is going to say event deleted. So event deleted, and then we're going to add a description here that says you have successfully deleted the event. Construction going on. Okay, and then once we do that, let's see, I think that's all. Save that. Let's go ahead and wait for this to reload, and then let's try it out. Hopefully nothing breaks. Loading. Okay, so if I delete this second event, I click on that button and then I say delete, it shows me the toast notification and then it deletes the event. And then if you check your database, now you only have one event. Look at that, looking fantastic. Okay, is there anything else left to implement for this? I don't know whether there is. I think everything is filled in right now, right? I think everything is filled in. Okay, so what we're going to do next is we're just going to deploy it to Vercel. and then we can now shut down our server. So shut this down. Oh, I forgot to mention something. Anytime that you are running Convex and you are getting an error, always check that your Convex was running in the background, because if it was not, then you're always going to get an error from Convex. So shut that down as well. Shut this down, clear that, and then clear that as well. So we've created a nice looking application using Kinde and Convex, and this is the home page. So we have the login and sign up pages where you can log in and sign up to your application, and you can see all the events. So I hope you learned something new and you enjoyed the project, and I will see you in the next one.